So, yesterday we talked about using ChatGPT4 in its original form. Unfortunately, in the free accounts, not all the new features for ChatGPT4 are available, so you can't do things like put images into it and talk about them. But you can use ChatGPT4, the updated version, on the new Bing search engine. I know, Bing, but you might find it worth it for this. You'll find the ChatGPT Bing bot on the top right corner of your Bing page, the little blue symbol. It just brings up a normal chat type window. So the first thing is that it says it can talk about what's in your browser. So I brought up a picture on Pixabay and asked it to give me some vocabulary from it. Unfortunately, that didn't really work. It gave me some vocabulary that was relevant to the picture, but seemed to give me random vocabulary for other pictures, possibly the other ones on the page. So trying to do that probably wasn't a good idea. So then I decided to ask it a different question, just a straightforward question, nothing to do with what was in the browser. I asked it to give me a list of vocabulary relating to social media in Italian, so that you could potentially talk about that subject if you wanted to. Now, what it came up with was some very, very basic stuff, and most of it was where Italians use the English word anyway. But you'll see at the bottom there are links to websites that might be able to give you more information. Response times do seem to be a little slower than the actual ChatGPT4 app. It then comes up with several options. Retry, thank you very much, in other words, ending the conversation. Can you quiz me on these words? And can you tell me how to pronounce these words? So I imagined that telling me how to pronounce these words was going to bring up some kind of little thing where I could press a button and hear them. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. It just gave me the instructions on how to pronounce them, which wasn't terribly useful. But it did tell me where I could hear audio recordings. Next up, I tried the "Can you quiz me on these words?" I'm leaving the response times in so you can see just how fast, slow it is. The quizzing is very simple. It just asks you what the word for something is. I think "I don't know" is a bit redundant because you can just go up and look. Okay, so after it thinks you've done enough of those, it then gives you all the options again. So I asked it to recommend me some Italian social media accounts because it's obviously assuming that that's what I want this vocabulary for. And of course, it comes up with Italian influencers, which I suppose is reasonable because they're going to be the most popular Italian accounts. But you could probably find those by yourself. But what's good about this is that it does give you descriptions of what those influencers do and are. And once again, there are a few links below for other places to find this information. So then I asked it to give me links to Italian social media accounts that are actually about language learning. But obviously you could do that for any topic that you're interested in. So if you want people that talk about cycling or dancing or music, you could ask for those social media influencers. And then finally, I asked it to give me links to some Italian language websites that were about Italian history. You might see some of these come up in a future translation video. One thing you have to remember about this is that ChatGPT4 is not based on live data. It's a database of information. I think it goes up to 2021. I think that's what it says on the ChatGPT4 website. So it's possible that some of these websites won't be as relevant as they might be. But with something like history, they should be okay. I did a search on ChatGPT3 previously for another channel of mine looking for useful websites for a particular topic. And when I actually clicked onto those websites, a good proportion of them either didn't exist anymore or that page couldn't be found. So that's something to bear in mind with this. The other thing with this is that if you want to keep a copy of the conversation so that you can read through it, all those boxes are discrete boxes. You can't copy the whole thing. You just click onto a box and it'll copy that box. And then finally at the bottom, it says, would you like me to translate this into Italian? So I thought, why not? And when it says this page, it's talking about that last section. So there are quite a few things you can do with this, and I'm sure there's more. I'm going to do a little bit more investigation. So you might actually have to start using Bing until Google comes out with its own AI, of course. But will it be better? Until the next time.